Good morning, students. Welcome to Avyan IAS Academy. I'm Anandi Ghosh, and today we will be dealing with another part of tenses. In one of our previous lectures, we had dealt with how you can change the same sentences in all the forms of present, past, and future. However, in this class, we will be dealing with specific usages of the tenses. In the first, we will take up the simple present tense. The first utility of a sentence in a simple present tense would be to express a habitual action. For example, when you say, I brush my teeth. This is used to express an action which you do every day. Or maybe you can say, I go to school. The next usage of simple present tense are to express general truths. For example, the sun rises in the east. Please be careful about the fact that you should always use rises, that is in the present tense, and it should never go to the past tense or become a rose. The same thing would also be applicable when we are trying to transform a sentence between direct and indirect speech. The next would be in exclamatory sentences beginning with here and there. For example, if we say, here comes the bus. Or we say, there she goes. These are sentences which are just trying to talk about something that is happening at the present moment. Also, generally we know narratives would be taking a past tense, but if it is a very vivid narrative, for example, you are going through a certain place, or for example, a scene of a fight is being described. For example, the enemy moves to the battleground. In case of, if you want to make the narrative very vivid and express it as a fact that it's happening, that's something almost which you can visualize, like in form of a narrative, we can use a simple present tense. But narratives as such generally would take a past tense. The further usages of the simple present tense would be to talk about an action that is a part of a fixed schedule. For example, the plane arrives at 5. This is a schedule that is about to happen. Hence, we will be using a simple present tense, and this is, although it's about to happen, but still, since it's planned and it's a part of the fixed schedule, like for example, we can also say the match begins at 9. In such cases also we will be using the simple present tense. Simple present tense can also be used in cases such as for introducing quotations. Example, Keats says, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. For introducing quotations or line from poetries, we will also be using a simple present tense. The further usages of the simple present tense would be instead of the future tense in clause of time and condition. For example, when we are trying to talk about a condition, I shall wait till you finish. So this is about someone waiting till somebody else finishes. So it's till you finish. Also, the last utility of the simple present tense would be in broadcast of events or cricket commentaries. For example, the bowler moves towards the pitch. These are the few examples and utilities of simple present tenses which we dealt with now. Then comes the next part of this present tense, which would be the present continuous tense. And let us see how we will use the present continuous tense in our sentences. The present continuous tenses would be as you all know, the first utility would be to express any ongoing action. Example, I am eating my breakfast. As I had said in the last video also, that with the root form of the verb, we will be using the ing in order to make it a present continuous tense. It is also used for a temporary action which might not be exactly happening at the time of talking. For an action which might not be happening exactly at the time of speaking. But the idea is that this event is happening in general. For example, I am reading David Copperfield. You might not be reading David Copperfield right now, but the general idea of the sentence is that I am reading the book at this moment. That is, it's a present ongoing action. When you talk about it right now, maybe that you are not exactly reading it right now, but in general, maybe in the routine of your day, you are doing it as an action. Hence, it will take the present continuous tense. It is also, as we had said, that in order to express a particular habit or a habitual action which takes place every day, we use a simple present tense. But in case if it is an obstinate habit, which really isn't dying, which is being expressed, like as we say, old habits die hard, we will use the present continuous tense. For example, my dog is not chewing its bone. In general, this means that the dog is not consuming the food. Maybe it is being, for example, if the dog is not taking the food for a few weeks, maybe we will be using this, like my dog is not chewing its bone. However, we have to keep in mind that when we are trying to talk about the senses, what happens when we are trying to talk about the senses, the five senses in general, what happens then? When we talk about the five senses of perception, what happens. Even if it is happening, even if something is happening right at this moment, whether we will use a present continuous tense or how we do it. In such cases, we say, I smell something fishy, or grapes taste sour. We will not use continuous tenses even if the action is happening right now. We will just use simple present tense. Instead, we will just use the simple present tense. For example, when also we say, I think she is saying the truth. That is, even if you think the action is happening right now, we would still not be using the continuous tense. Please remember this, that in all the five senses, including the olfactory ones, and even including your sixth sense, because you are saying, I think she is saying the truth, we will not use a present continuous tense. However, the only time when we can use a present continuous tense is, for example, she is making the soup and I am tasting to find out how it tastes. In such cases, for example, you are doing an action right now, you will be, in such cases, to express that the action is ongoing. In such cases, but they're not used a lot, but in general, remember this, that we will not use continuous tenses while we are trying to talk about the five senses. Alright, so now we'll come to the utility of the present perfect tenses. Present perfect tense, as you all might know, is used to indicate an action which has just been completed in the immediate past. If the word just is being used, that is an indicator to understand that the sentence that is being given to you is being said in the present perfect tense. For example, if you say, I have just finished my breakfast, or using the word just makes it amply clear that this is a sentence that should use the present perfect tense. However, if you also say, she has left, it would also indicate that if you continue the sentence by saying she has left 5 minutes ago, that makes it even more clearer that you are using the sentence in the present perfect tense. However, if you even say she has left, it would still be indicative of the fact that the sentence is in the present perfect tense. The next case is when you are used to using to express any action for which a definite period of time is not given. For example, when you say, have you read the Ramayana? When you say, have you read the Ramayana, it would mean that have you read it in general. It doesn't mean if you are just now reading it, but like in general, have you read it at any time in your life? The third utility of the present perfect tense would be to describe an event about whose effect we are much more bothered than when even the action took place. For example, when you say, Gopal has eaten all the biscuits, which means that there is none left for anyone else. So his action of eating the biscuits, even more important than his own action of eating the biscuit, is the effect that there are no biscuits left for someone else to eat. Then the last utility would be to denote an action which began at a point of time and is still manifesting. That this is the most common utility. For example, I have known him for some time, or I have known him for a little while. Like that, you had started knowing him and the action is still continuing. However, please remember that we will not use present perfect tense with an adverb of time. For example, we will not say he has gone to Kolkata yesterday. We will not say this. This is not a right utility. We will say he went to Kolkata yesterday. Please avoid this error. We will simply not use the perfect tense and we'll go over to the simple past tense in such cases. We will go over to the simple past tenses in case this is the adverb of time that we are talking about. If we are trying to use adverb of time in a sentence, please do not use the present perfect tense. Instead, just use the simple past tense, and that makes the idea of the sentence easier, and also that is the right utility of the tenses. Now we will go over to present perfect continuous tenses. So in the present perfect continuous tenses, they wouldn't have a lot of usages, but the most important one, as you all might know, is that is to indicate an action that has begun and is being continued right at this moment. For example, if you say, I have been eating for a while, which means that you had started eating a little while back and you are still eating and the action is being continued. Sometimes it is used to talk about an action which is completed in not maybe a very long time ago, but the effect or the continuity of the action is still visible. For example, if you say, I have been watering the plants. Maybe this effect is still visible that you have been watering the plants. Could be that the garden is still wet and it's just understood that you have still been watering the plants in a little while ago. So that would be mostly about the utility of the present tenses. So we will do a quick recapitulation of what we did till now in how to use the tenses. For the simple, the first one that we began with was the simple present tense, mostly used in cases of expressing actions, for habitual truths, for introducing quotations or anything that is happening at the present moment. The most uncomplicated of all those, and generally slowly we'll move towards the continuous tense. Continuous tenses would be mostly used to talk about an action that is happening right at this moment, for a continued action. However, remember that in case of using the 5 senses and also your 6 senses like thinking, hoping and such other things, we will not use the continuous tenses. Using the continuous tenses in such cases does not make proper sense. In such cases, we will be using the simple present tense again, like I smell something fishy, I smell something burning, I hear a noise. It's not I'm hearing a noise, it's like I hear a noise, even if that is happening at the present moment. So the next that comes would be the present perfect tense. And the present perfect tense would be mostly used to talk about an action which has just terminated, like I have just finished my breakfast, or she has left the meeting. Any of these actions would be done using a present perfect tense. It is also used to express an action which is for which the effect is still visible. For example, he has eaten away all the biscuit, and there is nothing left for the other people. And the final one that we do in the present tense is the present perfect continuous tense, which is used to talk about an action which has begun and is still being carried on. And it is sometimes used also to talk about an action which had begun and the effect is still visible, but maybe something that has just ended, like I have been watering the plants. So, and also kindly remember, as I told you a little while ago, that the present perfect tense is not used with the adverb of time. In case, instead what we do is we will simply go over to using the simple past tenses. Do not use sentences like he had gone to Kolkata yesterday. The correct usage would be he had been to Kolkata yesterday. So that's all for today. Thank you and have a good day.